What's up, Lil? Yeah. Yeah, the living dead talking head, coming to you live with Daigo with VRified Games. How we doing, Daigo?
Hey Ed, how's it going?
You know, man, I know you're not a therapist or nothing, but
So you're going fine, yeah? Okay, cool.
Alright, man, so what is it we're doing today, man?
Well, Ed, today we're taking a look at System Shock, the 2023 remake of the 1994 classic of the same name.
System Shock? We got us up in VR?
Yes, indeed we do, Ed. Thanks to UEVR, but not only that, there's also a dedicated mod made specifically to ensure better compatibility between UEVR and the game itself, because up until very recently, UEVR was not compatible with System Shock, at least not on a playable level. But all that's changed thanks to the efforts of modder Ashok from Flat to VR.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so what is System Shock all about? Well, as I previously mentioned, it is a remake of a classic game from 1994. The original System Shock being absolutely groundbreaking at the time. It was a fully 3D realized world. Yes, it had elements of the first-person perspective shooter, obviously influenced by Doom and Quake and various other games of that era, but it was more than that. It also gave rise to what's known as the immersive sim game. So basically what that means is first-person perspective, yes, but there's also exploration and role-playing game elements. You can upgrade various aspects such as gameplay stats, weapons, all this kind of thing. No two playthroughs of System Shock were ever really alike. There's very little hand-holding. It has the sensibilities of open world without being open world, where you can explore this huge space station, fight monsters, solve puzzles, and explore, with an emphasis on exploration. That spawned a sequel much later, which also achieved a fair amount of critical acclaim in its own right, System Shock 2, and while there never was a System Shock 3, the BioShock series would serve as a spiritual successor, taking a lot of the same gameplay sensibilities, mechanics, and yes, even story beats.
Employee 2-4601. I'm Rebecca Lansing, a counter-terrorism consult for Tri-Optima. Here's the situation. Our scans for Citadel Station show biological outbreak is in progress. We're in comms blackouts and Showdown is unresponsive. And worse yet, the mining laser is charging for potential strike on Earth. Nathan Darcy has office on the mental level from Central Hub. If he's alive, he'll bring the situation under control. I'll contact you through military no implant soon.
For the then new Unreal 3 engine, updating the graphics, but changing the setting from futuristic cyberpunk space station to 19th and 20th century alternate history America. So this is why System Shock is so important. No System Shock, no System Shock 2, no BioShock 1, 2, and 3. And every one of those games listed have made a huge impact on the gaming industry, a huge impact in the lives of gamers world over. Critically acclaimed for very good reason, and definitely deserving of all the praise they receive. So, let's go back to the 2023 remake. Now, the development history behind the remake is insane, okay? So, it all started with a Kickstarter back in 2017, and yes, it would not get released for another 6 years. Okay, and in that time, it switched engines. It was originally being developed on Unity. It was scrapped at least 2 times before the final version. First version was barely resembling what System Shock was, so they scrapped it. Second version, not much is known about it. Suffice it to say, they scrapped it and started all over again. The intention behind the final and released remake was, okay, let's not try to reinvent the wheel here. The original System Shock is loved for a reason. Let's maintain that and make the most faithful remake we possibly can while still updating things. That is System Shock 2023. If you know and played the original, this is very familiar right off the bat. It's both old and new all at once. It'll melt your brain in that way. Everything from the color palette, layout and design, how the corridors are structured are very old school, very what's now known as boomer shooter, but what I would have called Doom clone or FPS. It very much retains all of that. Very little has been changed or updated beyond quality of life. Sort of changes, little changes, kind of modernizing controls, etc. But at its heart, it is still very much old school, action adventure, / point and click, / FPS, / all of that. It retains it all. even down to the enemy proportions. You'll notice this, it's kind of weird, but elongated arms, slightly larger out of proportion heads. That's a throwback to the original game. If you put a screenshot from the original and the new one side by side, and yeah, it's the same game just with a new coat of paint. The RTXified it, basically. So what's the story? What's it all about? Well, there's an AI on board this ship. You've been forced to remove its ethical sort of programming, so it no longer has a sense of morality or a sense of duty to protect people, and it runs amok. And you're also on the space station. You have to try and get out, but also at the same time stop this rogue AI. That's it. Not going into any more spoilers. That's the story. And yes, the premise is very simple. You go from point A to point B. That's the game. That's System Shock. But where it really shines is its gameplay. Yes, it's old school, but this gameplay style is loved for a reason. And it's like, you play this game now, it's kind of like meeting an old friend again. Everything is familiar. It's absolutely fantastic.
We got someone! Employee 2-4601. I'm Rebecca Lansing, a counter-terrorism consult for Tri-Optimum. Here's the situation. Our scans for Citadel Station show biological outbreak is in progress. We're in a comms blackout since Shodan is unresponsive. And worse yet, the mining laser is charging for potential strike on Earth. Nathan Darcy has an office on the medical level from Central Hub. If he's alive, he'll bring the situation under control. I'll contact you through military neural implants soon. Lansing out.
Now, when UEVR released on New Year's, one of the most requested games, or how do you say, one of the most anticipated games was System Shock. And unfortunately, that was one of the games that didn't quite work because there was a lot of custom code and a lot of tinkering within the engine itself that it didn't work with UEVR, not as intended. Like, yes, you could certainly boot it up and it would work in that sense, but hard to explain. Try to boot it up without this profile on your menu. Speaking of this profile, what has Ashok done?
Welcome back to Citadel Station. We hope your somnolent healing stage went well. Today is the 6th day. You are currently in the healing suites, located on the first level. Level 2 contains the research laboratories. 3 houses the Department of Maintenance, and the storage cells are on level 4. The flight deck is on level 5. Level 6 holds crew facilities and executive suites. And level 7 is systems engineering. Level 8 houses the Department of Security. The bridge is located on level 9, and energy systems on level R. All levels can be accessed by the elevator in Alpha Quadrant. We hope you have a pleasant stay on Citadel Station.
Well, yes, number one, he has made a custom profile for UEVR, which enables 6 degrees of freedom, motion tracking for the weapons, and he's corrected a lot of visual eyesores. He's also went ahead and made some custom C++ code that you can inject via a pack file into the game itself, which will help with the compatibility. There's also his custom interaction system, which helps in gameplay situations where you have to use a keyboard, numpad, this kind of thing. Now, what you're looking at on screen is actually an early build. Ashok kindly has given a number of us access to this, so we can kind of play test it, offer feedback, and try to squash any bugs we might find along the way. So with that in mind, there were 2 sort of glaring issues that I had, at least in my playthrough. The first being the interaction system. I found that the reticle wasn't aligned with where it should be. So there's a section near the beginning of the game where you have to input a keypad, okay? But the activation buttons are up and to the left of where the keypad is actually situated. And you have to kind of get a feel for where the buttons are, and it's a lot of trial and error, so that would need to be aligned a little bit more, in my opinion. I'm not even sure if it's entirely possible with the UEVR, but with each new update they've improved and it fixes things, so hopefully that will be ironed out. And another is when you enter the sort of cyberspace hacking sections, where you can kind of fly around this monochrome polygonic world, kind of similar to Lawnmower Man, Okay, the idea is that the gameplay kind of changes to almost like a descent kind of 6 degrees of freedom motion game where you can fly up, down, left, right, turn in 360 degrees to allow for 6 degrees of freedom motion. However, I found with the mod, the rotation did not work. At least it did not work for me. So I was like on a 2D plane. I could move forward, back, left, right. I could move up or down, but I could not rotate. So that would be something else that would need to be looked at. So that's my 2 cents. I'm throwing that in there for Ashok as feedback. The game plays amazingly. His mod is fantastic. Everything works amazingly. UEVR grows from strength to strength, and with other modders coming along and building atop of the framework, yeah, the future is very, very bright for Unreal Engine games in VR. Very, very bright indeed. So once again, I want to say thank you to Ashok for allowing myself and others early access to this mod. I'm certainly enjoying the playthrough, and I do hope that the feedback does help in some way. Alright. So I guess we're going to leave it there, you guys. Like, comment and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, queries, any critiques, put them down below. If indeed there are any games you'd like us to look at VRifying in the future, put those down below and we will presumably get back to you eventually. You can also follow us on TikTok for our adventures over there, which are basically condensed versions of what we do over here. And yeah, follow us on all social medias. All links will be in the descriptions, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you there also. Alright, VRified Games out.